We're going to begin, and I'm going to introduce to you all Richard Brewery, who is a junior, who is the CEO of Robinhood. And Mr. Brewery.
Thank you, Kevin. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to talk about childcare, a critical unmet need in the fight against poverty in New York City. I want to start by acknowledging a few of our partners who are here today who will talk about this unmet need and why it is so urgent that our leaders in Albany act now to respond to the unmet demand of New Yorkers for hard quality, affordable, and accessible childcare. Joining me are Jessica Sager, co-founder and chief executive officer of All Our Kin, a nationally recognized nonprofit that trains, supports, and sustains home-based family daycare providers, childcare providers, I should say. Dia Bryant, the executive director of the Education Trust in New York, an advocacy organization that builds broad awareness of the gaps that exist in equity and opportunity in education and takes action to close those gaps. Joining us on Zoom, Shanette Linton, the founder, owner, and chief educator of the Bronx-based home child care center, Little Leaders Group Family Daycare, and Jason Cohn, our chief policy officer at Robinhood. Robinhood is New York City's largest poverty-fighting philanthropy. For the past 33 years, we have been at the forefront of fighting poverty, supporting organizations that help New Yorkers meet short-term needs for immediate assistance, and partnering with community and government collaborators to address the underpinning issues that drive poverty. High-quality childcare is essential because the earliest years of a child's life, from birth to age 3, are a critical period of healthy brain development and lay the groundwork for future educational achievement, economic productivity, and lifelong health. Access to quality early childhood childcare is also critical because it enables parents to get to work so that they can support their families. Research shows that society yields the greatest return when government invests in the care of our children from the very beginning of their lives. Early care shapes the future of every child, giving them an early start to thrive in school and throughout life. It is essential to getting New Yorkers back to work and getting kids on track. Robinhood is focused on reimagining our broken childcare system, funding professional training and development for childcare workers, and ensuring that our childcare system is properly resourced so that every child has access to high quality, affordable childcare, no matter who they are or where they live. Just last night, we heard President Biden call out the critical importance of expanding childcare in America and of making it affordable to everyone. In New York State, childcare can cost up to $21,000 per year, over 2 times the tuition of attending SUNY. And yet, the childcare workers who shape our kids' future are paid poverty wages. Roughly 15% of the childcare workforce lives below the official poverty line. And at least 65% of childcare workers must rely on social safety net programs to make ends meet. During the pandemic, childcare workers have been heroes. They're as much essential workers as anyone. When so many businesses were closed, the majority of family child-based providers remained open. Without them, so many of the essential workers who made life possible for so many of us would have themselves been unable to return to work. New York City simply could not have survived the past 2 years without them. It is time to honor them for their work and treat them like the hero that they are. As we escape from the pandemic and try to get New Yorkers back to work, these investments are more important than ever. An analysis by nationally recognized researchers at Columbia University Center on Poverty and Social Policy found that expanding New York State's investment in childcare would help tens of thousands of women re-enter the workforce, increase income for 1.2 million families, lift 84,000 New Yorkers out of poverty, and reduce child poverty by 12%. In February, we commissioned HarrisX and FKDK to conduct an online statewide poll of 2,132 registered voters to assess their support for increasing state subsidies to expand childcare in New York State. The results were weighted for age by gender, religion, race and ethnicity, education, income, and party affiliation. It contains representative samples across gender, race, age, and income. Here's what we learned. New Yorkers believe that childcare access is a real problem and that Albany must do much more to address it right now. Across every region and demographic of the state, 62% of New Yorkers favor making more families eligible for childcare subsidies, while just 26% oppose. Voters of all parties favor expanding state investments in childcare by double digits. 72% among Democrats, 52% among independents, and 51% among Republicans. This policy receives majority support in every region of the state, including Buffalo, New York City, Rochester, Long Island, the Hudson Valley, and the rest of the state. 59% of New Yorkers support fully subsidizing childcare for families who make less than 4 times the federal poverty level, $106,000 for a family of 4, while just 29% do not. 59% of New Yorkers support capping childcare expenses at 7% of income for families who make less than $250,000, compared to just 29% who do not. And 62% of New Yorkers support increasing the minimum pay for childcare workers, who again often earn poverty wages, to at least $45,000 per year, compared to just 26% who do not. These findings show that childcare is a top issue for New Yorkers in every corner of the state. We applaud Governor Hochul, who has demonstrated tremendous leadership in proposing an expansion of funding for childcare in her initial budget proposal, as well as funds to support struggling childcare providers and workers. However, what our polls show that with no doubt, New Yorkers across the state want Albany to go further. They want the governor and our leaders in the legislature to make childcare a top priority in their budget negotiations and to champion proposals that their members have put on the table for them to consider. They want Albany to step up to the challenge of helping New York families care for their children so that they can thrive and so that families and adults can get back to work or pursue further training and education. These are dreams that the pandemic has often destroyed or put on hold. They support using the state's unprecedented revenues, with the largest reserves in the history of the state, to invest more in childcare right now. Now I'm going to turn the podium over to my dear friend, Jessica Sager from ORK.
Thank you so much, Rich. Good morning. I would like to thank Rich Bury and Robin Hood for having me here today and for their initiatives to fight poverty and increase access to childcare. With Robin Hood support, All Our Kin has expanded childcare options for families in New York City, supporting 450 family childcare educators in the Bronx as they become successful small business owners who are providing exceptional community-based care. The poll results that Robin Hood has released underscore what educators and families already know. New Yorkers want childcare. New Yorkers need childcare. Our economic recovery depends on it. Parents, especially women, need affordable, quality care in order to return to the workforce. And yet, 70% of New York families live in areas with few or no options for care. And more than half say that the childcare options available to them are unaffordable. I am here to speak about a sector of the childcare field that is too often overlooked: family childcare. All Our Kin trains, supports, and sustains family childcare educators who run small businesses in their homes. They offer nurturing, stable, neighborhood-based childcare. They offer flexible hours for frontline workers and those working second and third shifts. They are the primary source of care for infants and toddlers. They also prepare the next generation of leaders. Children attending All Our Kin programs significantly outperform their peers on language and literacy, problem solving, and social emotional assessments. During the pandemic, home-based educators have gone above and beyond to support the well-being of children and families. Some stayed open at the height of the first wave to support frontline workers or rearranged their schedules to support parents' needs. Others closed temporarily, but still read stories to children over Zoom. They helped children navigate this new and scary landscape by, for example, sewing tiny masks for baby dolls to help children feel comfortable and safe. But these educators, a group largely composed of Black and Brown women, are struggling to keep their programs open. Their earnings pre-pandemic were already desperately low. More recently, educators have faced loss of income and increased costs due to COVID-19. And now educators are leaving in droves because they simply can't afford to stay. The good news is that we can change this story. All Our Kin has proven that when we support family childcare, it's a triple win. Providers succeed as business owners. Working parents find stable, high-quality childcare. And children gain an educational foundation that lays the groundwork for achievement. What's more, for every dollar invested in a new family childcare program, the region experiences a $15 to $20 return on investment. Just imagine what that could mean for the state. Families should have sustainable options. They shouldn't have to choose between paying for childcare and paying the rent. Providers should be able to make a livable wage doing the work that they love, work that is urgently needed. If New York invests in childcare, we can sustain the programs that are so vital to their neighborhood's well-being, build new programs, and change a childcare crisis into an opportunity. It is now my great pleasure to turn the conversation over to Shanette Linton, a wonderful All Our Kin family childcare educator in the Bronx.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shanette Linton, and I am the owner and operator of Little Leaders Group Family Daycare in the Bronx. I would like to thank Robin Hood Foundation for inviting me here today to speak. Robin Hood Foundation has done so much to support the childcare system in New York City, and I am proud to be a part with them. I started Little Leaders Group Family Daycare, a licensed childcare program in my home in 2019. I have been working with adolescents for a number of years. And when I saw one too many adolescents who couldn't even read, I decided to start working with younger children. Early intervention is the key to success, and family childcare is a great place to give young children the individual attention that they need. I have a sign on my wall that says, family childcare is not babysitting. People don't realize that home-based educators provide so much, like a full day's worth of nutrition, meals, and a consistent routine. We sing nursery rhymes, create art, and do all kinds of activities that allow children to learn through play. When it comes to time for pre-K, our children are prepared educationally, social, and emotionally. This is especially important now. I've been seeing more and more kids have developmental delays. There just wasn't the same level of interaction to foster their growth during the pandemic. One boy who has been with me since he was 2 months, he's now 3 years old, well, will be 3, wasn't speaking or engaging with others. Then he got a speech therapist. I implement the strategies and techniques that his parents use at home. And now he is thriving. He can sing a song, he talks about his feelings, and he's learning sign language so that when he can't verbalize, he can still communicate. That is what family childcare is to me. It's personalized. We recognize and we work with the strengths of each and every child, partnering with parents, every step of the way. When all our kin helped me prepare for licensing, there were 3 other daycares in my building, but I was one of the only providers who took infants and toddlers. I almost always have a waiting list because families are experiencing a real shortage in childcare. Not too long ago, a mother knocked on my door, pleading with me to enroll her son. She had been bringing him to her part-time certified nurse's aide job, but she needed more work and her son was increasingly active at her where she took him to work. She heard about me from one of the moms at the pediatrician's office around the corner. Her son started with me a week later, and now she started working full-time. It feels good to know that I'm serving my own community and helping women return to work, but the state doesn't recognize us as early childhood experts or small business owners who help grow our local economy. I never expected that I would earn my master's degree in psychology and still not be able to make ends meet. I am open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and I need to pay my assistant for all those hours. Once I pay her salary, I only earn $4 and change per hour for each child in my care. Out of that, I pay rent, utilities, and all my program expenses. After that, there's almost nothing left. And this is for a career that doesn't offer healthcare or benefits. That is why I'm asking Governor Hochul and our lawmakers to hear us. Families are desperate for our care, and we are desperate for living wages. Please help make childcare affordable and available across the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Linton. Next, we will have Ms. Williams, who is a graduate of Goldman Sachs's 10,000 Small Business Voices Initiative.
Good morning, and thank you for including me. My name is Michaela Blessed Williams, and I'm here to represent Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Voices, a community with more than 1,000 small business owners in New York State. We are builders, manufacturers, flower shops, restaurants, childcare providers, and more. I own Salon 718, a hair salon with 5 locations in New York City. I'm here to tell you on behalf of the small business community in our state that childcare has been a persistent challenge for us, made all more difficult over the past 2 years during the pandemic. Small business owners and our employees need access to high quality, affordable childcare. Our economy isn't working properly without it. After all, small business employs more than 50% of the private sector workforce in New York. This is an issue of talent. Small business owners need hardworking, talented people for our business to thrive. The lack of affordable childcare in our community is a massive inhibitor to smart and talented people participating fully in workforce. For all business, large and small, to be able to attract and retain talented workers, those talented workers need affordable childcare. As a mother of 2 teenage boys and a 23-year-old, I can relate to the challenges of finding reliable and affordable childcare. When they were younger, I was limited to the numbers of hours I could work, and it felt like I was just working to pay for babysitting. Fast forward 12 years later, I'm hearing the same stories from many of my talented and committed workers in my business. Janine, a mother of a beautiful 8-year-old baby girl, told me last week the cost of her babysitter was upward of $30 an hour. She can only work when her husband is home, limiting her to work on Sundays. Liv, another one of our talented team members, had to choose between an after-school program for her son or a health aid for her dad with dementia. In most cases, moms are the main caregivers for their child and also the ones who end up having to put their careers on pause due to the cost of childcare. And we're not alone. In our survey of 10,000 Small Business Voices Community in New York, nearly 60% of the employees had recently dealt with childcare challenges. That number increased nearly 70% for small business owners between the ages of 35 and 44. We want our elected leaders to prioritize childcare. In fact, we can't afford not to. New investments in childcare will lift up women and the workforce and move our economy forward. 10,000 Small Business Voices is grateful for Governor Hochul's commitment to make a significant investments in childcare infrastructure across the state. And our community of small business owners would like to thank Robert Hood and other groups with us today are calling on policy changes to take action and address these major workforce barriers. As a small business owner, I know that expanding access to high quality, affordable childcare for my employees will improve our productivity, increase our revenues, and help us retain workers and grow our business. Thank you for having us.
Our final speaker today is Ms. Tia Bryant, who is the Executive Director of the Ed Trust, New York.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. It is truly a pleasure to be amongst these fierce advocates talking about some very powerful data coming out of our state. Parents of infants and toddlers need relief. We need high quality care that supports many lifestyles and many different types of schedules. Women, especially women of color, have borne the brunt of the crisis, and it's time that we realize that childcare is not just a women's problem. It is everybody's problem. The workforce has shown up throughout the pandemic, despite incredible challenges, as you've heard my colleagues speak about: low wages, long hours, adjusting to new needs like masks and sanitizers. And some have even faced closure. I can't stress enough quality. We need to ensure that our children are safe in high quality childcare facilities. It is not okay for moms to have to decide whether or not to leave their child in inadequate care or to go to work so that they can purchase food and pay rent. That is not a fair choice. While we've all worked hard to push through the pandemic, we've not all experienced it the same. Some of us have lost loved ones. Some of us have lost care. Some of us have lost housing and food. And it is time for us to show up so that we can bounce back. Our economy requires it. We have to show up for New Yorkers. The data is clear, and we urge our policymakers and elected officials to act on behalf of their constituents, to show up for New York's youngest, and to now secure New York's future. We need childcare.
Thank you, Ms. Bryant. Members of the press, we are going to open it up to anyone who has a question. Feel free to ask your questions now. We'd be happy to do that. You can take yourself off mute if you have a question. Going once? Hi.
Morning.
Yes, please.
Sarah Darmanjan from News 10 in Albany. Good morning.
Good morning.
Would these childcare subsidies extend to after school programs or before school programs?
I can try to answer. The childcare subsidies would apply for children, infants and toddlers. And part of the power of the childcare system is that it would allow providers to respond to needs of families during non-traditional work hours. As you've heard in different parts of this conversation, one of the things that's so critical is that families have childcare needs 7 in the morning, 6 at night, in the evening, and having a system that is able to meet the needs of parents requires subsidies for non-traditional care hours, and that would certainly be covered in the proposals.
Thank you. One more question, if you don't mind. Would there be an age limit on these subsidies? Like, for example, you know, could somebody use it for, is this targeting like school age and toddler and kids?
I think the focus is really to alleviate some of the pressures that are experienced by infants and toddlers. So really focusing on children 0 to 3 and expanding to 4 and 5-year-olds.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Other questions, please?
Yeah, I have a question. Esther Wickham with AM New York. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, so you said according to the polls that there was a majority of support for this, for these childcare subsidies, but you also said that there was a certain percentage that opposed. I'm just curious if you have any data on the reasoning behind these people that opposed this to pass.
Hi, thank you for the question. Jason Cohen, the Chief Public Policy Officer. We don't have disaggregated data as the reasons for opposition, but we can definitely share, everything from the polling memos to the crosstabs. I think the point to take away is that support is overwhelming. It's over 3 to 1, pretty much across all the areas that our CEO Richard Bury outlined. And it's really strong. It's across all regions. It's across all political affiliations across the state, and with very little variance between both regions and political affiliations.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions, please? Any other questions? All right, well, thank you, everyone. We appreciate you tuning in this morning.